All right, everybody, we are recording now, and just want to give some basic introductions. We've got a live crowd here for our potluck in the villages for our new The Villages Health Optimization Club, and we have different clubs in different areas. We've already talked, some of us are snowbirds, so this is the first meeting where we've done like a hybrid, like a remote and an in-person. So if you're out there watching us, even if it's recorded, you can leave comments down below, but you can start in a discussion with us because we want to talk about the study. So I'm Mike, 55 years young, and this is my beautiful wife, Denise, 54 years young. We were the same age at one point before my birthday last month. And we run aPlantBasedDiet.org, which is a local to here, Marion County. I think are we in Marion County here? Or is this is Marion? This is Sumter. I know the lines are they cross over here on this road on 441. So we've been in existence for about 11 years, and this is our home. And we, as you can see, we have developed some new mission statements just to kind of let you know what they are down below here. This is kind of a description of, well, what does aPlantBasedDiet.org do? We curate fun experiences with food that doesn't harm humans. Okay, food that doesn't, and that's unusual. I don't think you've ever heard anybody say that, okay? But that's what we do. That's the best, quickest way we can describe. And what's our goal as an organization? It's right down here. Our goal is to eradicate all non-communicable diseases in humans via practicing the 6 pillars of both lifestyle medicine and healthy vegan food that you see there. So eradicate, that's about 80% of all medical costs right now, and also 80% of all causes of death are non-communicable diseases, and almost all non-communicable diseases are created or reversed by your habits. Simple as that. You don't need any science degrees or anything. You just need to change your habits. So we've created these clubs because we need support. Everybody needs support. You can't do it alone. It's impossible, okay? We know there's temptations all over. Most of the stuff that you could do is bad. So this is relevant to everyone in the human race that's alive, really, that doesn't want to be sick. And we've yet to meet anybody that wants to be sick. Okay, so let's dive into the discussion today. We want this to be an active discussion. Denise, will you please read the title of the study that we are going to comment on? It's a lengthy title. It's by Dr. Dean Ornish.
It's the effects of intensive lifestyle changes on the progression of mild cognitive impairment or early dementia. Did anyone get a chance to read the study? Yeah.
Okay, so it was a long study, right? I mean, I don't know if you watched my video or down below there was a link to the actual words. Yeah, of course, because I had my commentary in there too, in my video. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. So why don't we just start off right here with the live crowd in person. Do you all have any insights, anything striking to you by reading this? Have any questions? Anyone?
It was a very small sample.
Right, small sample.
And it was also an extremely controlled study. So I kind of expected to see good results, but obviously those kind of principles, you follow that for everybody, and you're going to see those kind of results.
Okay, so you expected to see good results because it was controlled, small, but did you, before you read the study, did you ever think there was proof that you can reverse Alzheimer's and dementia?
Not necessarily proof to reverse it, but kind of ameliorate it, slow it down, whatever. Because I've read a lot of different things, different physicians and people like that. So
yeah. So what do you think after you reading the study? Do you think that study proves that you can reverse the early stage or not?
I don't know if you can reverse. I mean, reverse to me means get back to zero, like have no cognitive impairment. So I don't know. Right.
Okay. So she's saying zero. Okay. For people on the video, she's saying that what you'd want to see is a complete and 100% healing. And the study only showed that based on these markers, there were like 4 different marker tests, right? That we saw reversal on those markers, but not back down to Yeah, not back down to zero. So that's interesting. So I guess it's a matter of semantics, or okay, yeah, okay. No, back, Andrea.
She had one carotid endarterectomy, and they wouldn't do the other one because it's super high before they do the surgery. So anyway, so she had one surgery. One was I think it was at in the 90%. So I put her on a vegan diet, but just kind of like a junky diet, not even a healthy diet. And we did a repeat carotid Doppler, and she went from whatever it was 81 or very high in the 80s, all the way down to the 40s.
Okay. All right. Andrew's saying that her mom, for people in the video, she's saying your mom had carotid arteries. It was shown on the test. She wasn't vegan. You just had her go vegan, not as specific as in the study. Not, right? But you saw dramatic improvement just doing that. 40 points of improvement. Okay.
Because when she was headed to the hospital, she was having some dizziness and thought it was maybe as a result of carotid blockage.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know there's a connection between and brain health, because you're not getting the flow, brain. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that you in the real world have seen improvements. You think maybe related to Alzheimer's and dementia, maybe, or just other things? Because like when Denise and I talk about this stuff, we seem to recognize like a lot of the people out there that have been saying this, it's all the same disease. These non-communicable diseases, right? It's just a different way of expressing. So whenever you start to do the right things that are compatible with life, then your body will start the healing process automatically and will heal whatever else is wrong, whatever non-communicable issues are there, like maybe with your mom, right? Okay, so that's good that you see that, because that's what we see too. I mean, so everybody says, well, there's a 100 different or 200 different non-communicable diseases, and doesn't matter because you just follow the same protocol, which is basically this, right? 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. The closer you can get, and like you said, like we didn't see this in the study because I think the study maybe just started out saying, well, can you even reverse this? Is this even possible? And I think now we know, yes, it is when we've read the study. But the question is, can you go back to zero, right? And like you're saying, Andrea, as well, it works on these other things. I have a feeling you can, as long as you're disciplined enough, you're compliant enough, and that requires being surrounded by people that are supportive, right? In this study, in the Orange study, they were surrounded by people that were supporting them the whole time, right? I mean, they were leading them, and they had 2 people. They said 2 people quit, and they said the reason why they quit in the study, if I remember correctly, is that they just didn't want to do it anymore because it's a lot of work, right? I mean, you give somebody a pill, there's no work involved, and that doesn't solve the problem, though. It manages the symptoms, but then when you tell them, "Hey, here's a solution. Here's your fix," well, it's a lot of work, right? And that's why those people quit. That's what I remember from the study, right?
Yeah, some people just quit the study. We thought initially maybe it was because of the pandemic. They didn't want to do all virtual participation in the study. But
yeah, restrooms back here.
They quit anyway because they couldn't handle the lifestyle changes. So with your mom's improvement, I'm thinking maybe even she was probably eating some vegan junk food. At least she was eating it. That's probably what's amazing.
When I looked at the numbers, I was blown away.
Yes, and I think that we've also, Denise and I talk because I'm always talking about these concepts. Denise listens to me, I guess, a lot. But I say to people, all diets work, because the average person, if you just let them out to do whatever it's going to do, I mean, like Denny's across the parking lot, they have nothing that's compatible with the 6 pillars of healthy vegan. Nothing even close. Okay, so the average person is doing so poorly that anytime you put them on any program of any kind, there's going to be improvement. And the question is, how far can you go with this? I think that's from our point of view. If we're trying to eliminate or eradicate non-communicable disease, well, that's why we need to get groups together. Like we need to lean on one another, because it is very difficult to remain compliant. It is very, very difficult. I'm not saying you need to be 100%, because I'm all for cheat meals every so often. Okay, I'm all for that, but we have to be like 90-95% compliant, I'd say, to get the maximum results. And like I said, we don't know if we can go down to zero. I would love to see a study that would show that we brought this whole thing back to wherever they were. But I guess wherever they were was maybe decades before that, right? Because like we understand, it says in the study, this stuff's been building up for a long time. And it's constant. You're either improving or you're getting worse. Nobody ever stays the same. So if you're not actively working on improving in the society we have right now, where most choices are bad, you're getting worse. And that includes me, right? So that's why we're also going to benefit from these clubs, because we need to see this. You know, we need to see other people doing it, and I don't know, just anything.
Did anyone else want to share their insights on the study?
I want to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Sure,
And
devil's advocate.
I'm probably the only one that's not vegan.
Okay.
Okay. So you talk about not eating things with eyes on it.
That's what I thought.
Okay, yeah, that's it without a face. I guess some people say that, right?
That's the basic terminology.
Yeah, but
So doesn't vegetables or fruit that grows out of the ground, doesn't that have feelings? Don't they eat what you feed them? Aren't you killing that to a degree?
yeah, okay. You're saying like, is there some kind of feelings there for plants? Do plants have feelings? That's a common thing, right? And actually, I say for health optimization, because that's kind of what we're focusing on, I don't care. All I want to know is what makes me not be sick.
When you
But
say you don't care.
well, I mean for health optimization, but our nonprofit is a vegan organization. So from that standpoint, which is outside of health optimization, yeah, ethical, I would say that there are many levels to this. And actually, if you would like, I can share a video with you. And actually, it's on our YouTube channel, and it's entitled "The 7 Stages of Ethical Eating." Because some people would think, oh, well, vegan's the only ethical diet. Well, actually, it's not. Well, it is maybe, but there's 7 stages in there, and it addresses a lot of what you're saying. And I didn't come up with this. One of our neighbors in Ecuador, who is a fruitarian, he eats 100% fruit, and he's doing that for ethical reasons, because there are there's different levels in there, like you point out. There is. He views it that way, and I can't explain it because it's from Nico. But Andrea, maybe you can explain it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So meaning the ability to feel. Plants don't have a central nervous system.
Central nervous system. Yeah.
It's basically a central nervous system, so that there may be death involved, but there's not the pain involved, where if you take an animal and you slit its throat, you're going to have the animal, in pain. Like your dog just has his throat slit or cut. It's the same.
You're thinking about the animal, because you're still not thinking about yourself when you haven't gotten to that point yet, because you're seeing the animal, the feelings of the animal, and also what the effect that it has on you really is secondary, because the primary feeling is the animal at first.
But a vegetable doesn't have a central nervous.
Actually, yeah. Go ahead. We're talking about central nervous system.
Energy in the earth. They said that yes, plants, trees, they do have feelings. So whenever they harvest, they have a whole ritual about thanking the plants for allowing them to kill them and eat them for nourishment. So there is.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, there's. Yes. She's saying, yeah, I'm just telling you can keep talking. I'm going to tell people what you're saying. She's talking about how Native Americans will respect the plants and.
So you're right.
Yeah.
The
So what do you do? Quit eating?
Well, actually, let me kind of say a couple things. Number one is phytonutrients, and what is the other thing? I'm sorry. Well, part of the nutrition of plants, part of the benefits of the nutrition that's in plants and why it's in plants is because unlike you and me, that we can, if let's say it's really hot and sunny, right? We can walk over underneath the tree for shade. Can a plant do that? No. And because of that, the plant develops within itself certain things that are actually highly beneficial to your health because it can't move. So it is very intelligent. The plant's very intelligent. And but then again, I guess I would have to go back to the video that I'll share with you that I would like you to watch and maybe come back to the next meeting and kind of maybe we can even talk about that. Although we had it planned for next month, maybe the month after. Because if you take what you said and it's valid to the nth degree, what are you going to eat, like you said? And Nico says only the fruits in the trees that are presented for that you don't kill off any life by eating them. And he explains it much better than I can. That's just a short version, but it addresses everything that you have a problem with or a question with, or because it does seem in a way that there's something that doesn't match up. I agree. And we're still investigating this. I'm not saying that all fruit is the way to go. We eat a lot of fruit, but I'm also not at that point in my mind, where I feel I need to do that. And I may never get to that point. I don't know.
So you're saying that possibly you could survive the rest of your life just on fruit?
Yes, and actually not only survive, but fully thrive to the best level of health that you could ever imagine. That's what I'm questioning. Because, and yeah, you wonder, well, if that's the case, well, why isn't everyone doing that? Well, I think that goes back to human history. If this is, I'm not saying this is the way to go. Okay. I'm saying that, well, why aren't we living in areas where we can grow fruit all year round? Well, maybe we were, and maybe we migrated out of the way. And maybe back in the day when we did migrate, we didn't have communications. We couldn't call somebody and say we were lost or whatever, you were gone. So you had to do what you had to do to survive during those times, to survive the human race. And that's where we get all the bad habits from, if you ask me, okay?
Like everything else, food has become a business.
Correct.
And
the business is food, yeah.
Tell you the bad points about it.
Yes, and I agree. And that's just so you know, we were talking with Andrea ahead of the meeting. We're starting our own food forest project. It's down in Southwest Florida in Collier County, because we understand too, even the plants that you grow have issues for your health potentially. So we're trying to create a perpetual community resource for anyone that's willing to volunteer to obtain food that we grow on the land that is free from all chemicals and all animal products. You can't even buy food like that. And so we agree. I mean, you're thinking this thing through, and I think that's excellent because we are too. And we're thinking, well, if we need to do this, if this stuff doesn't make sense, if it's going to harm us or it's going to harm our health, we need to look into alternatives. And we are. We have.
I don't know that I can't help but think about it because of the fact that she's like a fly on my shoulder.
Well, you have a good influence there. You have a good. I would say it's a good, because the rest of society, like I said, I think that we got to where we are in society because we had to survive as a human race in the past. But keep in mind, when we picked up these habits in the past, did we have easy transportation? Did we have easy communication? Did we have easy way to pick up all the knowledge? No, to all of them and more. We had no way. We were just doing what we needed to do to survive when we picked up these habits. Nowadays, we don't need to do any of the things that we're doing most of the time. And in fact, most of these things are harming our health. So that's why, all you need is an open mind. Say, hey, well, why is there salt in all the food? Where did alcohol come from? Why? Well, most cases, because there was no refrigeration or freezing in the past. You had to ferment your stuff. You had to create alcohol. You had to add salt to your food, or you might die over the winter because you would have nothing to eat. We don't live in that world anymore. Just keep that in mind. And I would think about that too, because I think about that. Yeah.
And Wallace, real quick.
I remember him from last month. Yeah.
That's the best.
Yes.
The best chef, the best.
And he's had a giant health transformation too.
Yes,
I remember.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Wallace.
He's in
Yeah.
my club also. It's fabulous.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming back too. Yeah. I really appreciate it. Yeah. It's fine. We're just as far as we're concerned, I think we're a relaxed group. We just want to have like you, Mike, you bring up these amazing concepts, interesting concepts. We need to think about this stuff because I am convinced, I'm totally convinced, even if I'm not convinced that you eat 100% fruit, because I'm not, okay? I'm convinced that the more we talk about this, the more we dive into this, the more we realize that these 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine are the way to go. And it's unequivocally the way to go. The only question is, how do we get in the shape that we're in now? And why are we continuing to do what we've done forever, what we needed, when all we could do was survive as a species? Right now we can thrive if we choose to.
Well, if I were to become vegan, the fact of the matter is, I don't like vegetables, so
right. Well, do fruit. We got a lot of fruit here. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Think about that.
The monotony.
No, not monotony. No. The monotony is only here in the United States in the grocery store because there are thousands of fruits. There's only a couple that you actually can get in the grocery store. If you go down to Ecuador, like our friend Nico, where he lives there and grows his own fruit all year round, he can grow whatever he wants. He has all kinds of weird stuff you've never even heard of or seen. You know, one of them looks like an alien egg on the outside, this Rollinia, and there's this custard on the inside. I didn't even know this stuff existed, before. And these are all because you can only, like you said, food's a business, right? You're only going to pick like the top 10 fruits and you're going to sell those and nothing else, even if there's 1,000 fruits to sell, because it's a business. So, yes.
Earlier, a good steak once in a while.
Well, that's
I'm a meat and potato.
well, yeah, I know. Well, I understand. Like I said, I understand where the motivation for that comes, because back in the day, generations ago, we didn't eat those things because we didn't live right on the equator, we would die off as a species. So we've all developed these habits that are ingrained over generations. So you're going to have that desire. There's no question. I have the desire to eat all kinds of junk food. My taste buds are constantly calling out. But all I got to do is override them because they have no idea, apparently, what's good for my rest of my body. And if I satisfy the taste buds and I harm the rest of my body, that's a bad trade-off. I'm not willing to do that anymore at 55. And I've done that in the past. I wasn't even plant-based till about 11 years ago when we started the nonprofit. I was doing everything else everybody else was doing. And, my cholesterol started creeping up and everything else was going wrong. I never got to the level of chronic illness, but I could see that if I didn't turn it around, that what's going next. You watch everybody else. Yeah.
I just say one thing, like just something for you to think about. You think about your taste buds, right? And you think about good steak or whatever. You take a lamb. If there's a lamb, there's a baby lamb, and it's live and it's breathing and looking at you in the eye. And then what kind of fruit that you want?
When it's ripe too. Gotta be ripe.
Strawberries, pineapple.
Let me put
Good.
baby lamb looking you right in the eyes. What would make your taste buds salivate? Would looking at a baby live lamb, would you salivate for that?
If I were going to kill it, if it was live, no, I wouldn't.
Right, it would, because naturally the
Yeah.
nature of man.
She's saying, for people online, she's saying that you wouldn't kill an animal if it was live and he had a watermelon, which he really likes, a fruit he likes. He would choose the watermelon.
A living animal that tells you.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I also would say, to take it a step further, what thing, just the way it is, could you eat on and on a regular basis without ever doing anything to it, just straight the way you see it, besides fruit?
Even if you eat meat, you put sauce on it.
Right. So there's if nature provides for you, why would you need to do anything to your food? I'm just saying, theoretically. And fruit shows you that, because fruit is the only thing. You don't cook it, you don't modify it, you don't put spices on it, you just eat it. Yeah.
But it's the monotony.
Yeah, right. I get you. I get you. That's what I'm saying. That's why Nico, our neighbor in Ecuador, said that he had to go to the tropics because in regular society, they only pick the 10 fruits that they're going to sell you in the grocery store. And yeah, it gets boring after a while. So, but that's not how nature operates. Nature has much more variety. You're just restricted from it because of the way society is set up and the business of food, like you said. So he moved down. And by the way, it's the cheapest place you could live. There's no place less expensive. Okay. It all makes sense. It's the least expensive place you can live. You don't need air conditioning or heat, and you can grow fruit all year round. And that's the life he's living, you know?
I went on the all fruit diet for a week recently, just last year, and I lost a pound a day. But like you said, it gets monotonous.
Yeah, it does.
Then I started getting into the cooked fruit, like eggplant and squash, and then I wasn't getting.
Yeah, eggplant's a fruit. That's right. And tomato's a fruit. Just to clarify.
Both of you are very thin right now, and probably she's the one that she never agreed with me. And, before you started, and you became vegan, where were you?
No, okay. I weighed the same. I would say don't judge a book by its cover. I say that because I had a 201 cholesterol level and looked just like this when I was 30, 25 years ago. Has nothing to do with it may have something to do with what you look like because a BMI is important. We're both a 21 BMI, which is right in the middle of normal. That's the way everybody should be. So it depends on your height. It depends on, I don't know, whether you're going to the gym. We highly recommend actually you use one of these body composition scales, which are really inexpensive nowadays, so you can keep track of that. But don't judge a book by its cover, I'd say, because it's the insides, the internal workings that we care about. And I was sick at 30, I'd say. I didn't realize it yet because it was building up slowly over time. You don't notice it. But when the doctor said you got a 201 cholesterol level, if that's not down by the time you come back, I'm putting you on pharmaceuticals. that was a wake-up call for me. I wasn't vegan. I wasn't plant-based. I wasn't vegetarian. I wasn't anything. And that's when I started my journey. I was just like, by the way, also, I have a book called, in case you don't know, Live to 150. That's how optimistic I am. I talk about my whole story because actually my story is much longer than that. I have some very interesting things that I did when I was a kid, which turned out to be right, as I realized decades later. But yeah, these are awesome questions. I'm always thinking about this stuff. So if you ever want to connect on it, let me know and I'll send you the video. And after you watch that, I'd like to talk to you. That's 7 Stages of Ethical Eating video because it addresses everything that you're talking about. And that's the conclusion Nicholas said is I have to move to the tropics and I have to eat only fruit that I grow that I know what I'm eating. And I think it addresses every concern that you have.
So to answer your question about me, I was about 10 pounds heavier when I met Mike and I went plant-based. I actually at one point I was 20 pounds lighter than I am now. But the benefit to going plant-based was we went to the Amazon Fruit Festival and I didn't know if I could live on all fruits and veggies either. But after 3 days of being there, my acid reflux went away. And I previously was on medication for it every day, and I even had surgery for it, and it still didn't go away. But it did go away when I changed my diet.
I will say I give this more thought lately than I have before. I've taken things for granted through the years, and you never get old. You see an old person over there, you'll never be like them, but my body's begin to bother me in certain ways. So I'm starting to entertain the thought of, I don't know how completely I can go, but to cut down less than what I have in the past.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's how it's been a journey for me. Like I said, 25 years ago, I was doing everything everybody else was doing. And that's when the wake-up call happened for me when I went to the doctor and, he gave me that number. So everybody's, let's keep going with questions. Do you all have more questions? Or actually online here, who is online? Mary Beth, if you have any questions, let us know. No question? Okay. Well, more questions here. I just want to make sure you can participate. Any questions or any observations about the study? Because we have some from our own. If you all don't have any, we could give you some questions to think about that we've developed. Yes. Yes. You know, yes, yes. Yeah, Ornish is the
I
cardiologist.
think he has 7 pillars of lifestyle medicine.
Yeah, well, it's actually, I think it's 6, right? Well, this is, yeah, this is not ours. This is from what we gathered doing our own research. This is what lifestyle medicine pillars are. So this is not our own. This is our own nutritional standard to clarify the plant-based nutrition. But yeah, like you said, he has his own Ornish lifestyle medicine business. Somebody commented on that on the YouTube, and I said, "You're like, what's this guy know?" I'm like, he has a lifestyle medicine business, and like you said, yeah. Just so you all know or don't know, he did do another controlled randomized study like this for heart disease reversal, and guess what? It was exactly the same protocol. You know how I said like it's not just multiple diseases, it's just one disease. And like Mike, you said like maybe things aren't going well right now. Like I had a problem with high cholesterol. We view that as beneficial. We view that as a good thing because that's your body's way of communicating to you that you need to change something, because it only will create the non-communicable disease when you are providing it things that it doesn't recognize as food. That's how we see it. Okay. So if you provide it with things it does recognize as food, then you cannot express non-communicable disease. It's not possible. I don't know if you ever thought about that. Have you ever thought about that?
I've thought about a lot of things, especially with her.
Yeah.
She says something, but it doesn't die there. She keeps on and on and on.
Well, yeah, I think she wants the best for you. She wants the best for you. I mean, like we want the best for everybody too, and society's in a bad place. I want to be as straightforward as I can, right? I say 95% of the choices anybody can make are bad. That's why we need a group like this to kind of talk about these things and like real discussions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what you're saying is real. I mean, she's saying that to you. And we feel that we would like to see everybody not be sick. I mean, I am so optimistic. Like we said, we can eradicate all non-communicable diseases. That's how optimistic I am, because it's totally possible. It's just a matter of getting everybody together to do it. And then guess what? Everybody just has fun all the time. Wouldn't that be a great world to live in? That's what I think.
So when you talk about fruit, let me ask you, don't certain people, like you got celery right there, you got watermelon.
Yeah.
Don't people put salt on
Okay, another issue with fruit is, like you said, food is a business. So, okay, I've got some yellow pineapples. You ever seen a pineapple like that in the grocery store? Yellow and not green? Yeah, most people have either never seen it or they've never even eaten it. And no, we know where to find them. I can tell you about the different sources that we have in Florida to get them. They're few and far in between, but we travel all the time. So we stop and we're shopping all the time to get, because I love pineapples. But here's the key. Unripe fruit is not meant for human consumption. It's not meant for human consumption. If you got to put something on that fruit, it's not ripe. If it's really ripe, there is nothing you need to do to it, right? And that's why, in my mind, you have colored vision too. That's the reason why I think humans absolutely have that, because you can't see the ripe fruit without it.
Well, what about, I'm sorry to monopolize. But what about the acids in fruit?
It's only if it's not ripe. Again, people say, "Oh, I can't eat pineapple, Mike. It hurts my mouth. It's a pain." And I agree. I used to say the same thing because I didn't know where to find a ripe pineapple or even how to identify one if I did see one. That's the problem. People aren't educated like this, and the food industry just wants to sell as many pineapples as they can. It's a business. Almost all of them. I say, just like I say, 95% of all choices are bad. 95% of all pineapples available for purchase are not ripe. And guess what? Pineapples is one of the fruits that does not ripen after you cut it from the plant. It does not. It will rot. It will decompose. We believe me, we know all this. I've been through this so many times. Nobody eats more pineapple than us. And it will be so you can eat it, but it will not ripen. It has to ripen fully on the plant, meaning it has to turn totally yellow on the plant. Most people have never experienced eating a pineapple like that, so you don't know how enjoyable it is because all you have is what the industry provides you. Yeah, almost all the pineapples are imported. Probably Costa Rica or Hawaii. Yeah.
My last question
Yes.
try to remain quiet.
Yeah.
I want to ask this gentleman, since he's a chef. Gentlemen, yes, gentlemen. Okay, you are, do you work in a vegan restaurant? That was your profession long before you became vegan, and how do you live on both sides of the water, so to speak?
He's asking the chef question. Yeah.
No, I'm engineer in my past life.
Oh, and you are an engineer?
Got involved in the whole plant-based thing. You know, I've been married 30 years, and my wife passed away, and I found myself out in the dating pool. On Plenty of Fish, online dating site.
Yeah, I remember the Plenty of Fish. And everything works right when you're doing that too. You don't have anything malfunction.
That really changed. I didn't notice it happening until afterwards, and I thought about it. Is mental clarity.
Mental benefit too.
I noticed the weight loss. I noticed getting off all my meds. I noticed not needing GERD medicine. But I didn't really notice at first the whole mental clarity, and I have no basis for this. This is just my hypothesis, but I think it's because I've eliminated so much toxic substances.
Yeah. So you're saying
my brain works differently. So many things in life that I feel like I see things now that I can't unsee, and I see that I've been manipulated by big business for years and years to be bad.
Yeah. Well, do you think, would it make sense? Because does it match up with what I said earlier? Or is it different? I'm curious. Like, were you in a survival mode there in the past, and are you now in a thriving mode, or is it something else that you would describe? How else would you describe that change?
Degrading mode.
Degrading mode. Okay.
Because I took a cholesterol pill and got to 196, I thought, oh,
Yeah, I know. And just so everybody knows, I think you probably know that Esselstyn says you want to get below 150 total cholesterol so that you're heart attack and stroke proof, right?
Yeah. In December, when I had my blood pressure,
101 without pharmaceuticals. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, we have some more. You mentioned whole food plant-based. I think that's one of the questions we have, or one of the observations in the Ornish study. Okay, they mentioned that you eat a whole food plant-based diet. I know you heard me say at the last meeting that we don't use that term anymore. And the reason why is because it could have a myriad of definitions. Okay, now they stipulated it in the study that it was a fat content of between 14 and 18%, 16 and 18%.
14 to 18.
Okay, that's total calories of fat from fat, 14, 18%, even though we stipulate 10% max. And then he also said low, what was it, processed carbs, right? Or refined carbs, AKA processed food, because carbs are good for you. That pineapple is a carb. It's a whole plant carbohydrate, totally different than processed carbs, which is basically, or refined carbs, which is processed food. Everyone knows that's bad. So, but the thing is, in a whole food plant-based diet, I mean, there's no universally accepted definition. So they clarified, and we would clarify even further by saying 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, which is basically very, very similar to the Ornish study. So I just want to point that out, that you have to be, like some of us have said here, you have to be so compliant to get those results. And to your degree of compliance, that will dictate your results. So just keep that in mind. I think the study showed that, right? Yeah, what else do we have there in terms of questions?
We already answered a lot of questions.
Did we? What are the other ones?
So we came up with the study found that a whole foods plant-based diet low in fats and refined carbs improved cognition. How can we practically transition to this diet, and what are some easy meal ideas to start with this?
Yeah, so if you're new, like Mike, you say you're not. Well, actually, I have a feeling you probably have someone preparing food for you a lot. but like, but
I wouldn't know how to
yeah. We don't like to cook either. That's another reason why I like fruit. Don't have to cook. Yeah, but yeah. So what are some, like, for people, somebody just starting out? Let's say somebody who's not even eating plant-based or hardly any plants reads this orange study. Like, what advice would you give them? I'm just curious, or is it you here in the audience, Yeah. What's the advice you give somebody who's not eating plant-based after reading this orange study? Where do they begin? How do they start? Right. Keep it simple. Yes, The Pleasure Trap, Doug Lisle, yeah.
We're talking about craving the steak and everything. After you eat plant-based for a couple of weeks, your whole taste buds and what your perception of things changes.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer crave that. And whenever I get a craving for something that's not on my list of green food, I eat a potato. And it's not what I was craving, but eating potato makes my craving for a steak go away.
Okay, yeah. So the cravings, so you address them by eating a potato. That's what you're saying, instead of a steak. Something, so you're full, right? At that point, you're full. You're like, oh, I'm done, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Well, I'd say, to add to that, the slaughterhouse footage, I would say, if you aren't looking forward to experiencing everything about where your food comes from, then why are you eating that, right? You kind of, because I would never willingly go to a animal agriculture operation or a slaughterhouse. Never. Why would I want to do that? This is suffering and pain. And also, by the way, the animals, do you think those animals are all healthy, or do you think they're sick? And do you have any assurance? Do you have any insurance that the meat you're buying or the fish you're buying is not from a sick animal? Do you have any way to know? You don't. And of course, there's all kinds of other issues, but I would never want to eat a sick being, and there's no way to know. So why would I ever want to go there? That's what I think about now, anyway. I didn't used to think about that, though. Yeah.
And sitting there and eating a sandwich while you watch animals being slaughtered, it would be horrible.
Yeah, I would, exactly. Yeah, I think that if a person is unwilling to experience that, or unwilling to want to see where their food's coming, or unwilling to just want to regularly do that, you have to question, why are you eating that, right? Yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't mind going to farms and looking at the fields and everything. I'd like them to use no chemicals, like I said, no animal products. But aside from that, those are things I can get by. It's not gonna scar me mentally. You know what I'm saying? By watching that. So, yeah.
Studies that potatoes. I unfortunately, a lot of ladies I golf with, they go to lunch with them. I take my lunchbox.
You take your own lunchbox to lunch, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
It's got to be a good lettuce. I don't know where it's coming from.
You use the Villages Grown? We buy all their stuff. Yeah, that's what we get every. Jessica, that's right, Jessica's farm. Okay, yeah.
But saying that, I said I eat potatoes like crazy, and then Michelle taught me how to put mustard on baked potatoes. I'm like, what? It is so good.
Oh, it's good, but make sure it's no added salt in the mustard. Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, remember, I would say that's a great point, and it comes up all the time. Processed or refined carbs are not the same food as whole plant carbs. Even though they use that carb in there, those are not the same foods. Like that's what I would focus on whenever someone brings that up. Say I always clarify, I'm only talking about whole plant carbs. I'm not talking about processed or refined carbs, which is processed food. And everyone knows processed food is bad for you. Everyone knows that. I don't care what diet someone's following. I've never heard any. Have you ever heard someone say processed food is good for you?
Well,
Yeah.
He's mentioned slaughterhouse. Well, that's been a way of life for years and years, and we just take it for granted, like everything else. The thing that's way heavy for me, and you might not know her, is Michelle Kramer,
Yeah.
my daughter,
Mhm.
and her mother, and all. With these two forces,
Yeah.
And the other thing is I have a sweet tooth.
I do too. Oh yeah. As long as it's ripe, because if it's not ripe, it won't hit the sweet tooth the right way. I'm just telling you, it won't.
What happens?
Yeah.
Where that's so I have to finish what I started.
Right.
So if that whole pineapple is there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
until it's done.
Well, okay. Denise and I, every day for breakfast, we have, I'd say, between 3 and 5 pineapples, whole pineapples that I cut up, and she gets a little bit less than me, but we finish them. Average of 4 whole pineapples that size. That's our breakfast. I eat. If you follow the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, there is 0 portion control. If you are eating a diet that requires portion control, that's not human food. That's all I have to say. Because real human food that doesn't create non-communicable disease has no portion control whatsoever. You eat till you're full, and you just, and I do all the time. I eat. Look at me. Do I look like somebody that does that? I don't, but that's what I do all the time because I'm eating what my body recognizes as food. So that's the benefit. I know people don't really talk about that so much because they're not willing to do all 6 pillars. It's not just eating vegan. It's not just eating plant-based. It's like you have to follow all 6 pillars of that healthy vegan food. You have to. Every single day. Actually, most of the time I'm putting up pictures. If you get on some of our social media, I've started to put them in the Village's community information group, posting as the Village's Health Optimization Club. But I usually have them lined up, and I've got the tops cut off so you know I'm eating them. And it's the same location every day, so I'm not making it up. I'll try to do it every day, but I don't do it every day because I think it gets annoying. But I just want to show that you can eat this every day. Like, do I have diabetes? People say, hey, you're eating too much fruit, you're gonna get diabetes. I'm like, just so you all know, I mean, diabetes is created by insulin resistance, which is created by eating too high of a percentage of calories from fat. And yes, if you have it, you probably can't process the sugars in fruit, but that's because you have an underlying condition which needs to be wiped away. The minute you do, and I don't have it, it's fruit time. We eat fruit all the time. You know, like Nicholas, he eats fruit every day for every meal. It's not a problem. Yes.
And barely finish it before lunchtime when I get full.
Yes, and by the way, and also for more fruit questions, Nico, who is 100% fruitarian, he never controls his portions. If anything, fruitarians have trouble keeping weight on. And he eats all the time and cannot necessarily maintain. He's got to eat the fattier fruits like the avocados, which is also a fruit. I don't know if you realize that. But if you're eating the standard American diet, you got to moderate those avocados because you're still going to probably get insulin resistance. But if you're eating 100% fruit, you eat all the avocados you want because those people have a hard time keeping the weight on. That's the diet that your body thrives with.
When I ate all fruit for a week, I lost 7 pounds, but I was eating about every 2 hours.
But you have to have a supply of fresh, ripe fruit to do that. As I'm saying, like the business of food is not set up for that. It's not. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, our ancestors, it was a necessity depending on where you lived on the globe.
Yes.
And you needed to eat meat to survive.
Yes.
And we were hunter-gatherers. And some make the argument we have molars because we're carnivores. But certainly we're new to the whole food.
Right.
In a couple weeks.
All right. Well, I say congratulations. Thank you for making the choice. It's okay. I know where you're open-minded and you're moving forward in the journey. That's all that counts. That's all that matters. Okay. It'll happen as long as you're. Oh my gosh. There's five. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of what we said about history, I don't know for sure. And like I said, I have a book called Live to 150. And one of the chapters is about these things. There's a chapter on alcohol, the chapter on salt, and it applies to meat as well, because we had to do what we had to do, I think, to continue as a species. When we didn't know as much or have the communications or the transportation, right, or the technology. But hopefully you realize, I think you do, that we don't live in that world anymore. Why are we still doing this? I mean, I know it's a tradition. I know we had to do it, but we're beyond that. Yeah. They add a lot of salt to them, right? Yeah. Right. That's it's what do they call it? It's like industrial or CAFOs, stuff like that. Yeah, factory farms. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, yes. So so just so you know, we see, since we're in this space and this is our thing 100%, and we're involved in projects in Ecuador, we're trying to get projects in Africa. I know you want to go to Indonesia, also closer to the equator, right? This is because of the internet. People are connecting all the dots, and the people that are in Ecuador are not from Ecuador. They're people who are curious, just like all of you, and kept thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And like I said, I'm here to tell you, it's the least expensive place you could possibly live. You don't need heat. You don't need air conditioning. It's in the Amazon rainforest. You don't need to irrigate anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it checks off so many of the boxes. And that's who's there, is people who have, not to say that it's perfect, but it's people who are curious and have decided, like Nico, he's been the most successful person, I'd say, of everyone, that this is the way that humans are designed to live. And he does say that it's an experiment, because think about it. Who else do you know besides this Nico guy that I'm talking about that is doing this? Probably nobody. And Nico doesn't really know anybody either, except for the couple people that are down there in Ecuador. So as long as you stick with us, we'll tell you how it goes. And you can rent our house too, by the way. It's called La Casa Mas Alta. It's like $35 a night. We built a house in the community right next to Nico, so you can experience it. Eat the fruit off our property. It's growing there. Yeah.
I had told you that I had gone to Costa Rica.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah.
It was packed.
Yeah.
No electricity.
Uh-huh.
Everything was vegetable fruit grown right there. It was unbelievable.
Yes. So Costa Rica. I think we talked about this just to give everybody else an idea of why we went to Ecuador. Ecuador is on the equator. So the closer you are to the equator, the more uniform everything is. Because we have obvious seasons here, even in Florida, right? I mean, we had the 2 Florida winters this year, I think. It never gets like that when you're on the equator at the right elevation. If you're too high, it does stay cold. If you're too low, you have too many extremes and other weather issues and other things going on. So Costa Rica is good because it is easier to get to. I will say that. Definitely easier to get to. I've never been, but I haven't been because we had opportunities in Ecuador. And like I said, I feel like, as an organization, we want to see how far we can take this, and we want to test it all out. So that's why we're there. And like I said, we invite you to experience it for yourself. And if you go to lacasamasalta.org, that's our Airbnb. You can see it's $35 a night, and it's a great little house. It's a totally different paradigm of life that you probably didn't know existed before. Yeah.
Well, I just want to give you something. I was vegan or whole food plant-based for 2 years. I got it. My daughter was vegan. She got me into it, and I was really trying. And then
When you say whole food plant-based, what do you mean?
I was trying not to eat any processed food, making all my own food, eating, beans.
Well, how is it? I'm just curious. Like, how does it affect? Like, did you add any oil? Did you add any salt? Okay. Did you keep the fat below 10%? That's another. Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay. So you're trying to stick to most of the 6 pillars. Okay. Yes.
So my cooking was not the best. So last time it didn't come out very good. I still don't know how to spice very well. So it's hit or miss. Then I found this program, More Medical, which is not in existence anymore.
Oh.
It was done by
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, they had to give it up because the investors pulled out because there wasn't enough growth. But she had complete program. They had a doctor weekly do the support group with anyone.
Yeah.
Program, Medicare paid for it. I mean,
Okay, you're saying a whole program. I'm just telling people online with Lori Marbus, and it got canceled, but it had all these different, like the pillars of lifestyle medicine. That's what it sounds like. Okay, and support. Yes. Was that paid for by insurance? It was. Oh, okay. All right.
It was awesome. Did that for probably 8 months.
Okay, but it doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Some family stress in maybe the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Just went back to all my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's easy not to do. Yeah. Oh, I am too. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yes. Well, yeah. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Okay. Like the mental you're talking about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. So this is maybe early Alzheimer's and dementia you're seeing. I mean that's what that's what it turns into. Yeah. Yeah.
All these things, and I still have the stress, but I said to myself, I got to do something.
Right.
I'm gonna end
That's
up
good. Yeah.
in the nursing home that I'm seeing all the time. So anyway, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm most successful when I have support.
Yes. Yes.
Because right now, everything else, I am totally by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just one of those people, maybe a dependent person.
Yeah, well, no, we're like that. I'm just telling you, I'm like that. Like whenever we do events, I tell people I'm doing better because we're doing this event and people showed up. Okay, and like something else I want to mention, like the Orange study, how you reversed Alzheimer's and dementia. Yeah, they had structure, like you said. The structure is important, but like we zero in on what did it cost these people? If someone was to do this on their own, what would it cost them? Nothing, right? In fact, you could probably save money if you're eating bananas and beans and rice and greens. I mean, that's like the cheapest stuff you can buy. So there's no cost to it, but and like I said, we don't think that the knowledge is in question. I think that studies showed that there was actual real positive benefits for most people that did the intervention. They called it an intervention, but it's just this. This is just like, this should be regular life. It shouldn't be called an intervention, but it is in the world we live in. And we're just glad that you're here because everyone benefits, and we want it to be no cost. Just hang out and talk about the stuff because, like you said, the minute you leave this room, it's going to be all negative influences, right? And that's just for us too. We're the same way.
My husband, probably as thin as you are, or thinner, and he's healthy. That's what kills me. I have all this genetic baggage, but he eats all processed food. He has tons of junk food in the house. So when I'm disciplined, I can say, wait.
Well,
right now I'm not.
I have a feeling has he gotten blood work from his doctor and other things? And he has good cholesterol and no high blood pressure and everything? All right. Well, actually, I address that in my book too, which by the way is free. It's a free resource. There's always an outlier. Okay. I mean, we're not talking about the outlier. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it may not. I mean, because there's always an outlier. Whenever you look at all of humanity, you're going to see this. And I will use the example of saying, look, they always sell you for your retirement. If you don't have a pension, you should save up and invest for your retirement. That's what you should do, because then you'll probably almost guaranteed to be retired and not have to worry about money if you do it right anyway. But then you could always just buy a lottery ticket one time and never invest for retirement and have millions of dollars. And that's what I would say is kind of like, your significant other. It's like, yeah, it's totally possible. I get it, but does that make sense? Is that like a wise thing to do? I don't think so.
When I was on that program also, they were telling me, because my family history and everything, all the medical professionals, and finally I agreed to do it, but they were telling me you have a very high risk of cardiac disease.
Cardiac.
So I got a cardiac workup,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not 80 yet, not very far away, but
Mhm.
the arteries
Mm.
from all those years, and I wasn't even terrible compared to most
Yes.
people. It's just genetic.
Well, I would.
In my mind,
That's a good
I would
point.
be more compliant with the whole stress thing.
Yeah.
Back all the old habits.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's what we're here to help. Let me also give you my input for what you just said, which is that, like, I know from Denise and I, there's a difference, okay? And that's why one of the reasons I wrote the book, Live to 150, I'm like the canary in the coal mine. Stuff that happens to me that I do, it impacts me in a very negative way extremely quickly. Because everyone's different, right? With the way that and for me, that's what keeps me going, is because I can feel that one bad meal actually just it's not new. This is not new. This has always been this way. And if you read the book and hear my story, which I'm not going to go into now, we can talk about it later. You'll understand why. But that's true even within families. I'd say, like especially us, because we're human, but we have different genetic lines leading up to this point. So we definitely handle things and express things in a different way. So like I said, I'm not one who, I have to be way more particular than most people, but I also think that I'm no different. Almost all my genes are still almost the same as all of you here. So even if someone like yourself expresses quickly, that's good, because it's going to get the other people as well. Probably, maybe not before they die, but probably. And you're a help to everyone else around you. That's what I want to say, because that's how I viewed it. I'm like, hey, I can be a help to everybody, because I'm super sensitive and I don't need to learn read all the scientific literature. I already know what's bad for life because I can tell you 10 minutes later.
All the bad habits I accumulated over a lifetime, and when I got stressed out, unfortunately, before I had all this support, so I was able to counteract it, but without the support,
Yeah,
I go back to my old habits.
that's right.
Very hard to change.
Well, I would say it's not, you are far from the only person that has to. I'd say that's normal, because everyone, I'd say this is why, like, a lot of what we're talking about here is a psychological or a sociological issue, because most people, they want to fit in with what everyone else is doing. And even if you tell them to do something else, like we're telling you right here, well, everyone else isn't doing that. So you're just going to do what everyone else is doing, even if you know better. And so and we agree, that's why these groups are important, because this is the only way to address what you're talking about. And it is not just you. It's everyone, really. Some people are better.
Yeah, and it's very difficult, to change a whole lifetime of habits, like we said.
Yeah.
And try to go to something completely different and stick to it for the rest of your life. So I'm just telling you my difference that I could tell. So it's kind of like, keep that in the back of your mind and don't go back to your old habits. Especially for you guys that are still.
Yeah, that's right. Especially if you, well, we want to encourage you. Yeah, we're here to help. Yeah.
Family, Michelle and I were plant-based, but my family is not.
Mhm.
My mother, my sisters, and all we ever hear is on that stupid diet. Why don't you eat this? Why don't you?
You're eating rabbit food. That's what I hear.
I mean, I'm strong because they really don't understand the reason why, I can explain it to them. But you have to, just like with the COVID shots, I don't do shots.
Okay.
My own mother would need to allow me on her patio with a mask on to visit her because I did do the shot.
Hmm.
And if I tell you the pressure that I got friends all around me about the COVID shots, I don't do them. Everybody can do what they want. I don't do any.
Yeah, you're free to do what you want. Yeah.
So the pressure is out there, and it's good to meet people that are plant-based, because we all kind of understand each other. So it's good to have good support too. Yeah, because a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think eventually we'll reach a critical number of people that are into this so that this won't be an issue anymore, right? I mean, it's kind of like smoking used to be. You couldn't get away from it. It looked like no one was ever going to stop no matter what, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. But, I mean, there's a few people that still smoke, but almost nobody compared to before, you know?
If I got to know you and you invited me to your home for dinner and all, what could I expect to have for that dinner?
For that dinner, well, when we do prepare our food, which is infrequent, because I'm like you, I know how to boil water, so I think I'm a little bit better than you. But I make pasta and water, rice, other stuff. Those are my go-tos for actual cooked foods that I make. You know, pasta and rice dishes really is, and of course for pasta I got to make my own sauce because I cannot find sauce that has no added oil and no added salt. So I got to make it myself. It's not like elaborate. I just got like several different ingredients that I already buy. They're at the store, cut up tomatoes and stuff and put them in, right? I mean, so that's a go-to is organic whole wheat pasta that I boil with spring water that we harvest ourselves. Okay, if you want to talk about the different levels, that's a whole other conversation. And then I make my own pasta sauce. So it's simple, you know. It doesn't take me long now that I've gotten in the groove, but I know Denise has been craving the pasta because down when we're in Florida, I don't do that because we're always traveling down here. But once we go back up north, that's when we'll have it like multiple times a week.
I used to pack my own salad for lunch, and before I met Mike, and I put chicken on it. It's not good for you. Chicken's 20% fat. I mean, not only is it cruel in the industry to slaughter all those chickens, but there's cholesterol in it, it's high in fat, it's got salt, and the chickens are injected with things. You know, I didn't want anything to do with that anymore after I saw the whole animal protein cancer connection. I just replaced my chicken with tofu. It was a simple change for me. And for what you said about molars, horses have molars too. I used to teach kids how to ride and how to bridle them. I've seen people get bitten by them accidentally while bridling. But they're vegetarian. A lot of animals that are vegetarian have molars. And yeah, the obligate carnivores too, like this, their mouth doesn't go from side to side like a cow, like the way we eat, like a cow.
Has a strength of 10 men.
Oh yeah, and they're totally vegan. I think. Oh, and you mentioned support networks. Some of our travel events that enabled us to meet a lot of people on our health optimization cruise who have given me tips too on how to improve things like spices, like where to get the salad dressing with no oil or salt, ways that you can sneak in exercise without even barely noticing it. I learned all these tips from other people on our travel events.
Yeah, because we want to say that's something else that we do as an organization is we want you to be able to leave your house and not harm yourself. Okay, like I said, we curate experiences with food that doesn't harm humans. So we have some travel experiences because we know everyone likes to travel, right? So we have a cruise, we have a safari, and then we have this La Casa Mas Alta, like I said. And ask us about any of those, but they're easy to remember. It's Health Optimization Cruise, Health Optimization Safari. Those are 2 annual events. One's December, the safari, and one's January to get out of Florida winter. And there's other, that's a reason why we're doing it actually in January, because there's other parts of health that we believe, which is it does get really cold. There was 2 times here it got really cold, okay? I still think that there's benefits to going into the Caribbean in late January, even if you're in Florida, and especially if you're up north, you know, for just because that's, of course, when you go up in the higher latitudes, like you were saying, Andrea, up in the wintertime, everything looks dead. You know, but the closer you get to the equator, when you're in the northern hemisphere in the winter, everything comes back to life. You know, and even if it's too cold here, it's a lot warmer in the Caribbean.
And we're not trying to do a hard sell on our travel events, right? We're a volunteer organization.
Yeah, we're totally volunteer. Yeah. Yeah, we just want you all to have, like you said, the community is important, right? You need to have community everywhere you go that is supportive in this way. And, just to clarify also, we've been on plant-based events, we've been on vegan events, travel stuff. No one produces the kind of events that we're doing. Because like I said, you could say whole food plant-based and it could mean a variety of things. It doesn't necessarily mean this, these 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. And just so you know, all of our travel events, all the food served, all of it meets 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, all of it. And everything we do is based in these 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And we still have fun. That's the thing. We're going on vacation to have fun. We just don't want to harm ourselves in the process. But we envision the whole world like that. Like I said, I'm very much an optimist. Actually, let me get to a few last questions so we can wrap this up. We can have more talks about this, but I'll stop the live video. Let's see. Stress relief. We talked about exercise. I think exercise and the diet, right? That the Orange study, because the Orange study had exercise mandatory. Daily vigorous aerobic exercise and the diet mandatory, and that created positive mental conditions. I'd say it increased these. And in the Orange study, I know you were talking about over many years. You noticed the Orange study was what, 20 weeks, right? 5 months. They saw benefits in all this stuff, so that's amazing. And of course, group support. We talked about the importance of that. That's what they had in the study. They had group support so that you could stay compliant. All you got to do is just stay compliant, right? I mean, it's amazing. And I don't know if you noticed that everyone in the control group, almost everyone saw their markers improve in the Orange study. And almost everyone in the non-control group just doing whatever, they got worse in 5 months. So that's why I say nobody stays the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. This study absolutely proves that, like I said, maybe not go down to 0, but you're either getting better or you're getting worse. It's as simple as that. It all depends on whether you're willing to stick to these 6 pillars of food and lifestyle. All right, and let's see, greater cognitive benefits. How can we, okay, here's a question. Everybody who stayed closely to what they called them? They called them intensive lifestyle changes in the study. That's what they called them. They were intense, and they called it an intervention. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the way life should be lived. But everyone who stayed as close to them as they could saw greater cognitive benefits. I think we can all agree to that. We all got that out of the study. So how can we track our progress with these things? Diet, exercise, stress changes, and what can you set measurable goals for these things for yourself? I'm curious, does anybody have any thoughts for that? Do you do that? Like, I can tell you what we do, but I want to hear from you first. If anyone wants to share with that.
Well, small steps obviously make you the most successful. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to go from this to this and be able to stick.
Small steps.
It seems like you gotta have a plan.
A plan.
And the plan can't be, I'm just gonna go vegan.
Just wing it.
You know what, it's a process, and
Yeah.
What to do here because you're talking about all these things and all. You got to know where to buy them on a regular basis.
Yes, where to buy food. Yeah,
and all.
The produce.
To me, once you have that plan, you make up your mind, you're going to do it, and you know where to buy the stuff.
Yeah,
that's probably 95% of it.
So planning your food purchases, yeah, because you're going to be buying living foods a lot of, right? I mean, the stuff that that stays on the shelf for a long time, even beans and stuff, not hard to get, but the produce, right? Yeah. And you want that to make up as much as you can of your diet. Yeah, that there's no question. Denise sees all the planning I do. I agree with that 100%. And you have to dedicate yourself to do that. Yeah.
And you have to read.
Yeah, but you realize the challenges. Yeah. Read everything you buy, the labels.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because everything has high fat and added sodium, it seems like. Everything available, without exception. Like I said, you were talking about the plant-based and vegan restaurant opening, which we're excited about. Yeah. But will they have even one dish that meets these 6 pillars of healthy vegan food? Probably not, almost guaranteed, unless we can talk to the owner and they have an open mind. That's the only thing required, is an open mind. And we can work something out with them. Like I said, just so you all know, even if you're watching remotely, we'll promote them as much as we can if they do it. We want to see it, But a lot of people they have because like you said, it's all in the details. If you're talking about reading labels, it's all in the details. So if these folks say, hey, well, if this is what only thing you're calling healthy, what else? What is everything else I'm serving? They won't say that to me, but I know they're thinking that. They're like, wait a minute, but it all matters. You saw in the orange study, you got to stay compliant. You got to do all these things. This should not be an intervention. This should be normal life. But I don't know. We're willing to talk to these folks, and yeah, read every label, because if you read every label, you're going to be frightened actually with what you're actually potentially consuming. Yeah.
There's a gentleman, Jeff Novick. I don't know if you know him, but he's a nutritionist.
Oh yeah, Jeff Novak. Yes. Oh yes. Yes, we know him. He does. Where does he live? Oh, okay, New Smyrna Beach. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
He has a YouTube video out, and I just got his email the other day that showed it, but it's on reading labels.
Reading labels. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Reading labels is something that needs to be learned, I would say. So you know what you're looking for. Yeah.
Important is the way of vegetables, organic versus.
Okay. There's different levels. Let's say, just like I said, like someone could say, hey, I'm a fruitarian. I eat only fruit. Well, there's different levels. Are you even eating ripe fruit, right? So when you go into all produce, all plants, how they're grown, what we would like to see as an organization, I'm just telling you, and actually we say this in our healthy vegan food, the caveat to these 6 pillars is you should source the plants as organically and chemical free as possible. We know that it's not possible to source plants that are fully organic, fully chemical free right now. It's just not really possible. But we as an organization are developing our own projects. Like in Southwest Florida, we're going to have a food forest on 5 acres, and it's going to be 0 chemicals and 0 animal products. So that's the high level right now. Is I'd say, if you just buy something off the store that's not organic or anything else, that's the low level, right? That's what most food is. But it's still going to be better as long as it meets the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. Don't worry about it. Don't say I'm not going to buy it, because the reality is, even if you're buying organic food, it's probably not vegan because they use animal manure as fertilizer in almost every case. Right? Yes. Yes. So it's a learning experience for everyone, and even for us. And that's why we're embarking on projects like Ecuador already, where our neighbor Nico lives in our house is, like House Masalta, they're already doing chemical-free, no animal products. But they're like top level in the world over there, okay? We're trying to bring that to Florida now and say we're going to have a food forest without chemicals and animal products, and it's going to be a community resource actually in perpetuity, ideally, is what we're going to do. So, yeah, I mean, just do the best you can. But stick to these for sure, because this stuff, okay, you get the most benefits when you take away the worst things that you're doing. I would say that. The worst things that you're doing are in these 6 pillars. Probably the worst thing everyone's doing is high fat and high sodium. The minute you take away high fat and high sodium, you're going to feel like a totally new person. And then you can start going from there. So I'll say those are the 2, because I go into every restaurant, every prepared food section, even in Whole Foods or wherever you're going to go. It's just another flavor of fat and salt. It's not, my body doesn't recognize it as food. It's going to express disease. So if you stop the high fat,